when you do something for 3 decades, you learn a little bit about what it's really about. And when you look at, why do the New England Patriots consistently win, and the Cleveland Browns consistently not so much? It's their culture. It's what's really behind the scenes. It's not whether a guy can jump, 40 inches, run a 4.3. That really doesn't matter, okay? It's really the stuff behind the scenes. And if you really want to be successful in life, whether it's in your marriage, your career, being a dad, being a mom, whatever it might be, it's always the things behind the scenes that are more important than what everybody tells you it's going to be, okay? So what I'm going to do today is kind of share with you the 7 building blocks that you have to have if you want to be successful in the NFL. The guys that I've had that have made the most money, had the most success, they had every single one of these attributes. And candidly, where the carryover is and the overlap is, this is also true for every one of you and whatever you decide to do, okay? So I'm going to get started. First thing I did is I reverse engineered an NFL player. So when you reverse engineer an NFL player, that is basically taking him apart and figuring out why is he successful? Because when you look at NFL players, then let's just take the Bears as the closest team to where we're standing right now, or maybe it's the Colts. It isn't always the first rounder that's the best player. It's the guy the franchise makes the face of the team, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be the guy that's going to be the best player, okay? And so scouts get paid a lot of money, travel all over the country, go to every school in their area, write reports, and submit them into the director of college. They huddle up with the head coach, the GM, and they have this draft. They call it the draft, but it's a simulation of talent in April. And teams that are losing put a lot more focus on the draft than the teams that are winning. So the New England Patriots, they don't really pay too much attention to the draft. If the guy can play, he can play. If he can't, he can't. They are not betting on their draft to make their year. Where the teams that perhaps struggled the year before or have a history of struggling, the draft is everything, okay? They're more focused on winning the draft than winning games, all right? So when you look at the scouting factors, these are it. It's physical and it's mental, okay? What I'm here to tell you is that in representing players for 3 decades, that number's true. The average career is 2.7 games. It's not 2.7 years, because when you start out at the beginning of training camp, there's 90 guys in every roster. They break it down to 53. They keep 10 on the practice squad. It looks like with the new CBA, that might jump up to 12. But there's 10 guys in the practice squad. Those practice squad guys can't play on Sundays. And then of those 53 guys, only 46 dress. So that means 7 guys are not even playing on Sundays that are on NFL teams. So their moms and dads and girlfriends, everybody's like excited. Hey, my honey's or my son or whoever it is going to go play. He's in street clothes on Sunday. So he's not even going to get a chance to play, okay? So what does a typical NFL player look like? I think the answer is really simple. There is no such thing as a typical NFL player. They come in all shapes and sizes. Some dudes are big brothers with long arms, 7-foot range. Some guys are little dudes. They come in all shapes and sizes. The thing they can't measure is their heart, okay? They can't measure what their passion. They can't. There's no, when you go to, like I'm going to a couple pro days in March, they're going to have the Vertimax. Going to show them how high they can jump. They're going to have their 40 marked off, and they have all the scouts are going to be clocking the guys with their speed. They can measure those things, but they can't measure their heart, okay? I'm going to tell you about a couple guys, just examples. Ryan Lilja got in trouble his senior year in high school. They had the school district just implemented a no tolerance policy, meaning nobody could drink anything or you were going to get suspended for the year. The whole football team went to a party in August. And somebody in the administration came to the football coach and said, hey man, we heard some football players were at the party. Every player was there. So coach holds a meeting, says, hey, which one of you guys went to the party? Ryan raises his hand because he was the best player on the team. They kicked him off the team. He was the only guy that raised his hand. They kicked him off the team. So he didn't even play high school football his senior year because he was being honest. 99% of the guys lied, and that's what most guys do, okay? So he has to go to a JUCO. He ends up at Kansas State. I have a client that was a coach at Kansas State at the time, called me up and said, hey, you need to sign this guy. So I call a few teams to, hey, I don't draft anybody on draft weekend, so I call my buddies on the team and say, hey, do you like him? Not really. So I just blew him off. He calls me like a week after the season. Hey, coach said I should give you a call. Oh, by the way, my girlfriend's got an internship in Colorado Springs. I'm driving her out there next week. Do you have time to meet? I'm like, what do I got to lose? So I met with him at Champions at a restaurant. Great dude. Signed him. Then he had some injury issues that I found out after I signed him because he was getting shot up with Toradol during the season. So he didn't even practice his senior season for 2 days a week because he had all these issues. So guess what happened on draft weekend? Nobody called. In fact, he was on bed rest for like a month during the time that he should have been training, getting ready for the combine and pro day. He couldn't do anything. So he didn't do anything, and he didn't even get invited to the combine. So 3 days before his pro day in Manhattan, Kansas, the doctor said, you got the green light. So he goes out and starts running. So how do you think it looked on his pro day? Not good. So if his head coach, Bill Snyder, and Kansas City Chiefs head coach, Dick Vermeil, didn't have a relationship, this guy would be in the real world and never played in the NFL. But as you can see, he played 11 years, started 104 games, et cetera, played in 2 Super Bowls, got a Super Bowl ring, made a lot of money, and now he's very, very successful in business and in real estate, has 4 kids and a beautiful wife. And he's just a normal dude. But they couldn't, if you would have seen him at his heyday, when he started as a rookie, his heyday, you would have thought he worked for FedEx. And he was a delivery truck driver. Did not look like an NFL player, okay? I could say the same thing about this guy, okay? I won't bore you with the details, but suffice it to say, he was undrafted and unwanted, and his signing bonus as a rookie was $1,000. I think that speaks for itself, okay? Domann. This might look a little bit more sexy because he was a 4th rounder. He played in over 200 games. He made almost $50 million. But he had an older brother that was a better athlete than him that only played in the NFL for 2 years. So why did he play 14 and his big brother played 2? Because it's something that they can't measure with a stopwatch and they can't measure with a Vertimax, okay? So that begs the question, and I think every NFL team, every professional team, every general manager in the world for any professional team asks the same question. How do we figure out who to draft? If you've got 2 guys that play the same position, that have similar skill sets, they're both 6'4", 240, and run a 4.62. Which guy do we take? Do we call up his coach and say, hey, who's the best dude? Do we interview him? Do you think that's going to tell us? I don't know. But I'm telling you, the pros call it the pros pro. In the NFL, when you talk to guys in the locker room and you ask, hey, what's this guy like? Oh, he's a pros pro. Well, what's a pros pro mean? That's a dude that's got a pro mindset. That's the guy that does all the right things. That's the guy that does the extra stuff. That's the guy that knows the playbook better than his coach. That's the guy that knows what's going to happen on the field before it happens. That's the guy that you don't have to tell him to watch extra film. He's going to watch extra film. He's going to do rehab before he gets hurt. So when he gets hurt, he's already halfway rehab from the injury. Okay? That's what a pros pro is. So what I've identified is 7 things that make you a pros pro, which I call the pro mindset. Okay? I'm just going to put them all out there. Okay. First one's belief. Second one's passion. These things are not new. Every one of these things you know. So if you're like, oh, I wonder what a secret formula is. There's no secret to it. It's all out there in black and white. It's out there. But it's like you got to have purpose. You have to train. You have to have the right lifestyle. You have to have winning habits, and then you got to be able to perform in crunch time. Okay? So there's a couple different ways to look at this. It starts with belief, and it's like stair steps up, because if you don't have belief and passion and purpose and all these, you don't train and you don't live a good life and you don't have winning habits, you're never going to play in a game. You're not even going to play in practice. Okay? Here's another way to look at it. Belief, passion, and purpose really is how you think. Training and lifestyle are how you act. And habits and game day are how you perform. Okay? And when we watch an NFL game on TV, we're seeing the performance part of it. We're not seeing the training. We're not seeing what they did during the week. We're not seeing how they performed in practice. We're not seeing how they went to bed at 10 o'clock because they needed to catch up on their sleep. We didn't see that they watched extra film even after the coaches' meetings so that they were prepared for Sunday. Okay? So I'm going to talk about each one of these, some to different levels than others. Belief to me is one of the most important ones because it's the starting block of everything. So I'm human. My clients are human. I have good days. I have bad days. I have better days. Players sometimes, even here, I was here this year in the fall. Our son plays for Nebraska and came and smelled you guys' dust for the first 3 quarters, and then we caught up in the 4th quarter and finally beat you guys. But it's like, you kind of wondered, what happened? Do they have imposters that got off the bus to show up and play? Because these kids are not the kids I thought were going to be here. How many times you watch a Bears game, you're like, what the heck? That guy didn't show up. Okay, so belief is you got to have 100% belief. So I always tell the guys, if you got like 97% belief, if you get score 97 on a test here at the university, what kind of grade do you get? A, maybe? Every time an A? Every time. I'm here to tell you, if you got 99.9% belief in yourself, as an engineer, as a banker, as a lawyer, you will fail. You have to have 100% belief because people smell it. People feel it. So if you're a corner and you're in man press against a wide receiver in a game, and you're like, oh shoot, man, I hope he doesn't run a 9 on me, which is a go route. Because man, I'm feeling it right now. My hamstring's kind of tight. I'm hoping that, oh shoot, man, I don't think I can cover this dude. He knows it. Before the play starts, he knows it. Players smell it. Your teachers smell it in class. And you wonder why you got an 89 and the other 2 people get an 89 and one gets an A and one gets a B. That's not fair. The teacher feels it. Your professor felt it. Coaches feel it. Scouts feel it. Opponents feel it. It's intuitive. So here's the deal. Not everybody's got their A game every day. I don't have my A game every day, I promise you. Players don't have their A game every day. So just like when you go on a road trip in your car, usually what happens if you never stop at a gas station? What's going to eventually happen? Going to run out of gas? Absolutely. So what do? You see it getting close to empty and you just pull over at some truck stop and you fill up. You have to know where your confidence stations are for you so that you can fill up your confidence and your belief when you feel like it's fading. So let's say, I'm sincere about this. When my guys have 100% confidence, they do so much better. And if they got 99%, most everybody else doesn't see the difference. I can see the difference. Their mom and dad can't even tell they're not 100% confident, but I can tell. Their coaches sometimes, nobody sees it. It's there. You have to know how to fill up your confidence and your belief. You're going in for an interview. You're going in for an internship interview. They're going into a job interview. Maybe it's your first big one. It's a job that pays $50,000, $60,000 a year, and it's like, oh my God. And you don't have belief in what you're doing. You don't think you're ready. I promise you're not going to get it. You're going to be more qualified than the other person, and you're still not going to get that job. Because the person that's making those hiring decisions is going to know that, hey, you don't even believe in yourself. You don't have your game Why would I want to bring you in my company? I don't care if you got a 4.0. I don't care if you're a Kuma some Lottie blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. I need somebody on my team and in my company that believes in themselves, that's going to represent our company with 100% belief. So let's talk about the NFL again. I tell guys, you got to know where your gas stations are for building up your confidence, filling up your confidence. I got a guy with Cowboys. He watches his highlight tape when he gets to the facility at the Star in Dallas every day. He's got like a 3-minute highlight tape. How stupid is that? Is he arrogant? No, that's what he needs to do to remind himself that he's pretty dang good. Because guess what? The whole world's telling you you're not. Your coaches are telling you you're not. You got competition. Hey, you show up, and the dude that's right next to you is one of your homeboys, just got waived, cleaned out his locker, and went home. You better have some way to rebuild your confidence, because if you don't, the next time it might be you that's cleaning out your locker. Okay? And everybody's got their own way to do it. Josh Norman watches Josh Norman, who just got cut by the Redskins, but made a lot of money in the NFL and has had a really nice career with the Panthers and the Redskins. He would watch superhero movies. You just got to know what yours is, okay? Okay, I'm going to talk about a guy from here. This has been a while, 2003. Some of you guys are probably in kindergarten, or maybe not even in kindergarten. Some of you guys might have been less than that. My last year living in Chicago was 2002, and then we moved to Colorado Springs for the last 18. But I recruited a lot of the Big Ten, and they had a young man here from St. Rita High School in Chicago. What's that? Brother. Okay, thank you, sorry. Corrected by the audience. And he wasn't even the best player in the offensive line here. And got invited to the Combine, did not get invited to the All-Star games. And his nickname here is Hollywood. I know why his nickname is Hollywood. I have no idea why his nickname was Hollywood. I'm sure he's fun partying and having fun like college kids do. And he gets drafted in the 5th round by the New York Giants. And at the time, they had Eli Manning as a rookie. They had Jeremy Shockey as an all-pro tight end. They had Tiki Barber was their running back. And they had some pretty good players. And so I'm talking to David probably 3-4 weeks into OTAs. How's it going? Man, it's going great. I said, what you been up to? So I just went to a barbecue last night. Who's there? Tiki, Jeremy, Strahan, Eli. And I'm like, yeah, sure. I'm sure you did. And so then I keep asking questions. You know, because eventually when somebody's lying to you, if you keep asking more questions, they keep lying, eventually they can't lie anymore. So I thought he was BSing me. So I keep asking him. I said, well, how'd you get there? Because he didn't have a car. Well, Strahan has 5 cars, can't drive but one at a time, so he's letting me borrow one until I have the money to buy one. So I'm like, hey, that's pretty cool. So guess what? He was a day 1, game 1, starting left guard for the New York Giants. He belonged because he believed. And because he believed, all his teammates believed. And because his teammates believed, his coaches believed that, hey, we can put this rook in there from the jump, even though he's a 5th rounder, and he was kind of a nobody until he got there, okay? So if you wonder if belief is BS or not, if it's real, it's real. Because what happens is, if you're authentic with yourself, if you believe, not saying you have to, I'm really saying your life depends on it, your career depends on it. You have to act and perform and play and talk and walk consistent with that belief. And he did. And because he did, he only played in 160 games. Only 160, okay? And he parlayed that into a career in broadcasting, okay? Now let's shift to passion. So you have belief is about you, passion is about what you do. If you don't have passion about what you do, you're doing the wrong thing. If you don't have passion about what you do, you're not going to be very good at it. Okay, even though you think you're good, whatever you're trying to do, in my case, I'm talking about football, you're not going to be very good at that. So you have to have obsessive want to, and you have to have it on the brain. So I'm talking to Rob Ninkovich, doing a podcast interview with him, and he played with the Patriots and a bunch of teams for 10, 11 years. He's out of Joliet, Illinois. And he basically said I had football in the brain. What does football in the brain mean? What does it mean? It means when I got a chance to go play video games, I did something to help me with football. When I had a chance to go chase girls, I did something related to football. When I should have been studying for school, I was thinking about football. But I think he's doing okay right now. He's working at ESPN, making low 5 figures a day to be an announcer at ESPN. Okay? And I'll circle back to Rob because probably about 6, 7 years ago, my wife and I were in Bristol at the headquarters for ESPN, and Rob was there after winning a Super Bowl with the Patriots, and he was scared out of his mind. He was nervous. He did like 14 shows in 8 hours. He didn't have Twitter. He didn't have any social media. Teddy got him hooked up on that day, and he was getting like 5,000 followers an hour as he was working at ESPN on shows. He's like, holy smokes, this really does work. And then now he's actually working for ESPN? How crazy is that? But he had passion. I could tell you stories until the cows come home about him. Okay, so, boss. I might have hit a wrong button and now that stopped. Okay, so the next thing is purpose, okay? Purpose is your motivation. You have to have some type of purpose about what you do. So let's just think about the fact that you think you're really good at something and you love doing it. But guess what? You like doing other things more. It's not going to happen. That's what happens to a lot of very talented athletes. They're dang good at it. God gave them a lot of athletic ability. They really love the game. They don't love the practice. They don't love the process, but they love the game. They love the limelight, but they don't like the grind. That's where they're void of motivation. It's not really what they should be doing because in the way it works in the NFL, it's a great equalizer. They're not going to be doing it very long because if they're not motivated, they're not going to be there. So motivation is the glue between you believing in yourself and you loving what you do. You got to be motivated so that you're doing it even when no one's looking, even when maybe you're not getting paid to do it, even when you don't have to do it, even when no one else is doing it, even when other people think you're stupid for doing it because you're doing it too much. The next two focus on how you work, how you act, and what you do. This is everything that all of us that played sports have been told it is. And this is where high school coaches live. Got to get bigger, got to get stronger, got to get faster. It's all those things. And you know what? Once you go to college, and if you're a scholarship guy, then it's you got to watch film. You got to stretch. You got to have a good relationship with the coach. You got to do other things outside of football to be a better athlete. That's all that stuff. And here's the thing. When you look at two players that don't look the same, maybe one's 2 inches taller, one's got 4 or 5 more inches length, maybe he's a little bit faster, but the other player plays 10 years and maybe 10 years longer than the player that plays 2. Why, how, what happened? Why did it work that way? Because as a GM, as a scout, almost every time they're picking the guy that looks better, that jumps higher, that runs faster. Every time, because they can't measure things. So they go on the things you can write on a piece of paper. So here is where the skill development takes over. So the young man who may be 2 inches shorter, a little bit slower, a little bit less hops, because he develops his skills, because he does all those things, because he works his fanny off, because he puts in the time, because he likes the grind, because he's got football in the brain, all those things I already talked about, all of a sudden he starts performing better. Why is Austin Eckler going to get paid with the Chargers when he didn't even get drafted and he played at a D2 school? didn't go to the combine, and hardly anybody came to his pro day. And then you got Melvin Gordon, who was a top draft pick from a Big Ten school that got to go to all those things, and he was even an early entry player because he did so well in college, he didn't have to play 4 years. And now which one would you rather have on your team? Which one do you think NFL teams would rather have on their team? It's not the high draft pick. It's the guy that developed. It's the guy that can perform. And the guy that obviously put in the work, okay? Now we're going to move into how do you perform. There's two things that define how players perform. One is their habits, and two is how they perform in crunch time. So let's just take it back to your world again. Man, you have studied your butt off. You've gotten great grades. You've made sacrifices. You've gotten honors in your school. You've done internships. You've connected with your friends, moms and dads that do what you want to do. You've networked. You've even Googled. You've looked on YouTube. Everything and anything you think you could do, you've done it, okay? But if you can't perform, it doesn't matter. When you get in that interview and you get a person that intimidates you, that you don't feel even likes you, how can you perform? Well, the NFL is full of that. There's coaches that don't like my clients. There's coaches that don't like their players. They got to go from 90 to 53, so you can't love everybody. So every NFL team goes into training camp looking for reasons to cut guys because they got to eliminate 37 guys 3-4 weeks down the road, okay? So let's talk about the habits, though. It's not a dirty word. It really is not. Habits is not a dirty word. It is really, and discipline's not a dirty word either. It's a thing that allows you to manifest an environment so that you can work hard and get benefit from that work, so that you get better. The book that was about 10,000 hours, okay? It was the Outlier book. That's what it's about. It's having habit. How can you do something for 10,000 hours if you don't have good habits? You'll be doing other things, okay? So with NFL guys, having winning habits allows them to neutralize their mood and their feelings. How many of you guys, maybe you don't know, maybe this is not a fair question, but how many of you guys had to come to this conference today? Okay? Or did you want to come? Let's say you had to come and you were excited about coming, but you woke up this morning and didn't really want to come. It's Friday. Do you know what all your peers are doing right now? They're all at happy hour right now. Right? Or they're chilling at the crib having some brews. And you're here? Do you really feel like being here? I mean, really? So, as an athlete, sometimes you don't feel like it. Sometimes you're not in the mood. If you have winning habits, you're going to do it anyway. Okay? It's my wife is awesome at scheduling. Drove my kids crazy. But it enables you to accomplish more, get more done, do more, live more, get more out of your 24 hours than if you don't, okay? As an NFL player, off-season hits, it's time to hey, smoke some weed, go on vacation, lay in the sun, chill out, but you still got to have a schedule. So if you have a schedule that, hey, you're going to work out for 90 minutes every day, first thing in the morning, guess what happens every day during off-season? You got in 90 minutes of work that a lot of your competitors that you're going to be competing for jobs with maybe didn't get because they didn't feel like it. They weren't in the mood. Figure out what winning habits means to you. Okay? Let's go to lifestyle. Lifestyles is creating an ecosystem that is conducive to whatever your dream is. If you don't have a good lifestyle and it's not consistent with whatever you want to accomplish, it's not going to happen. I'm going to guarantee you that. You want to talk about the gambling people over there? I'll bet all the money I got 100% of the time that you will not accomplish whatever you think you want to accomplish if you don't have a lifestyle that's consistent with it. So as an athlete, where these guys sometimes go off the rails is off season, off day, evenings, road trips. It's a lot of negative stuff. Okay, marriages get broken up. They lose their finances. They don't recover from injuries. I mean, one of the things that's absolutely true about the NFL is that 100% of the players will get hurt or injured 100% of the time. So if you don't have an attitude and a plan about how you're going to recover from whatever injury you had, I didn't say tear your ACL. I didn't say you're going to have a concussion, but you're going to have something. Pulled hamstring, quad contusion, AC joint, something. So if you don't have a mindset of and a lifestyle that's going to help you recover, you're not going to lose your job because you can't do it. You're not going to lose your job because you're not the most talented. You're going to lose your job because you're not available to play because you're in the training room. Okay? And the last thing I'll say about this is we all have a tendency and a propensity to sabotage ourselves. I want to get great grades, so this semester I'm going to study harder. Well, the first Sunday that comes along, you were going to go to the library, you're just too tired to go to the library. The first time you decide, you decide in January, New Year's resolutions, hey, I'm going to start studying for tests 3 days before instead of 3 minutes before the test. 3 days before it comes, it's like, dang, man, I didn't know we were going to have a party tonight. My friends are having a get-together to watch the NBA game or something. I got to go to that. I'll study 2 days before. Same thing happens 2 days before. You're back to the same plan you were before, 3 minutes before. And when you study 3 minutes before, you get grades consistent with 3 minutes before. So as an NFL guy, it's the same thing. If you don't get ready for training camp, you're not going to be ready. If you don't train, you're not going to be ready for OTAs either. And the NFL loves doing this with their players. Finding guys that are younger, cheaper, healthier, and sexier all day long. And fans, you do too. Because you look, we got to get better than this guy. We got to get better than this. If you're a Bears fan, you're thinking, we got to get a new quarterback. Okay? Well, what if your quarterback got better? Would you need a new quarterback? What is he not? I don't know the guy. Is he doing the right things? Is he doing the things that are going to make him better? I don't know. Good question. I had to put this up here just to remind me. I was in Arizona meeting with one of my clients whose contract was up. And I had a scheduled meeting with the general manager. So I met with my guy, kind of, how's it going? How you feeling? Oh man, I'm feeling great. He was starting, they were going to the Super Bowl that year. And I'm just like, hey, I'm looking for red flags. I'm looking for skeletons in the closet. So I don't go into the meeting with the GM and get ambushed. Like, your guy's it. I didn't know. I look like a dummy because I don't know my own client. Everything's cool. So I go in and meet with the GM, and he's like, hey, Craig, why don't we bring in the head coach? I'm like, absolutely. Ken Wisenhunt was head coach. I said, Coach Wisenhunt, how you doing? I said, what are you thinking about my guy? What are you thinking? What is your vision for his future here? What are your plans for my guy being with you guys for a while? He's like, well, before we talk about any of that, he's got to understand I don't like 729ers. Do you guys know what 729ers is, by the way? Nobody knows what you do? What's a 729er?
Meetings at 7:30, show up at 7:29.
Close. Dang close. Here's what it is. It's the dude that leaves his apartment at the time based upon hitting every green light that he'll show up at the complex at 7:29. But if he hits a red light, he'll be late. So guess what? He shows up about 7:32, 7:33, 7:34 every day. Coach is so steaming pissed off at him. He's like, there's no way in heck I'm going to invest a lot of money in a dude that's a 729er because there's no such thing as you're going to hit green lights every time. So grow up, show up, and be there 10 minutes early, or hey, don't go play for somebody else. And after a year, he went and played for somebody else. Okay, let's talk about game day. This is what everybody thinks it's about. Candidly, it is. But without the other things, this never happens. So there's really 4 things. 1 is you have to prepare. 2 is you have to practice. And let's go back to prepare. What does that mean? That means as a quarterback, you're looking at what the tendencies are for a defense on first down. second long, different distances on second down. They get paid for moving the chains. What's going on third down? How do they what's the defensive coordinator's favorite coverages and defenses against in the red zone? Is it cover 4? What if we got a stud receiver? What's he do against teams that have like a crazy number 1 receiver? Where's that help coming from? He's going to be double covered. So where's it coming? So that when the quarterback shows up on Sunday, he's not shocked when they're doing something to their offense. He's expected it. That's called preparation. It's seeing what's going to happen before it happens, so when it happens, the game slows down and you can be effective performing. Next thing is practice. And I got to share a funny story with you about my own kid. He has to get this from his mom. I just say that, okay? It's like he thinks he can do things on game day that he's never done in practice. Now, I get it. I was probably the same way. I think you can do it on game day, but you can't do it in practice. So our son was Gatorade Player of the Year in the state of Colorado his senior year and had an opportunity to go to 25 different schools, this being one of them. And he chose Nebraska. And he used to have the best hands, not that I've ever seen, but just really good hands. He goes to Nebraska, they hide the balls. He's played defense. He doesn't touch balls. So like his first couple of years, I'm like, dude, do you ever like see the ball? No, we just do indie drills and get touch the ball 5 or 6 times at practice. I'm like, dude, you got to do extra. Remember we talked about working? Well, just because I know it doesn't mean my kid knows it. And if he does know it, he doesn't do it. So he didn't do it. So like there's been a couple times I'd be like, hey, you working on your hands? No. How'd it go in practice this week? Oh, I dropped an interception. I'm like, really? I said, I'm thinking in my head, I hope he didn't touch the ball on Saturday because he probably won't catch it. Lo and behold, that next Saturday, dropped an interception. So if you don't do it in practice, how in the heck can you expect to do it in a game? So that's a lesson for life too. I mean, if you really want to accomplish something, practice doing it so that when you get a chance to do it for real, it might give you a promotion, might get you another opportunity with a new job. You actually can capitalize on it because you've actually done it. Visualization. I am a big believer in visualization. In fact, I've already given this speech. I don't know if you guys know that or not, but I gave this speech. You guys were there, okay? Last night before I went to bed, I gave a speech. The guys in the audience were a lot better looking. There was more of you. It was a little, everybody was a little rambunctious. But for the most part, it's the same deal we're doing right now. I've already given this speech because I did it last night before I went to bed. Okay? As an athlete, you have to see yourself doing it before you do it. And for those players that do, it's just kind of funny how they're the ones that are the stars on Sundays and Saturdays because they've already done it. And then breathe oxy. Once you've prepared, once you've practiced, and once you've seen yourself doing it, now you're in the game. Now you're on the free throw line. Now you're in the red zone. Hey, you're behind. You got to get the ball in the end zone or you're not going to win. Let's just play quarterback. We're all playing quarterback. We're all breaking the huddle. And we've got 2 choices. We're either breathing the oxygen of belief or we're breathing the oxygen of doubt. The oxygen of doubt is, man, I hope my guy doesn't drop the ball. Oh, hey, it's shotgun. I hope my center doesn't snap it over my head. Oh, my left guard has kind of been a little bit on the iffy side. I hope he doesn't miss his block. That's the oxygen of doubt. I haven't even thought about doing something good yet. I'm worried about all the bad stuff that's going to happen. The oxygen of belief is we're going to get them. The play the coach called is going to work. We've set this corner up all day. We're going to do a rub route. We're going to do a double move. We're going to do something. And my guy's going to be open in the corner of the end zone. And I'm going to put that sucker on the money. Those are the thoughts that are going 100 miles an hour through that quarterback's mind in about 5 seconds between when he breaks the huddle and when he lines up to call the play. So last year, I like to use this example because it's just so vivid in my mind. In the NCAA men's basketball tournament in the semifinals, Virginia, I can't remember who they were playing, but they were losing. And one of their wingmen shot a 3 in the last seconds of the game, drew a foul, wasn't even trying to make the shot. He was trying to draw a foul. He did. He got to shoot 3 free throws. I don't know exactly the situation. I don't know if he made 1, they were going to lose, make 2, they were going to go overtime, make 3, they were going to win. I'm sitting there on my couch going, this sucker is going to make all 3 of these. When he got fouled, he got knocked down, he got up like that was how it was supposed to be. That was exactly how I orchestrated this play. He walked to the free throw line, waiting for the referee to give him the ball. He's looking at his boys like, I got this, dudes, relax. Everybody in the stands, in the arena is probably going crazy. I wasn't at the game, I was on my couch. But he had it under control because he prepared, he'd practiced it, and he visualized it, and he was breathing the oxygen of belief. I got this. Hey, the free throw line didn't change. It's still 15 feet. The height of the basket and the hoop didn't change. It was still 10 feet. Everything was still the same. He's probably taken that free throw shot 5 million times in his life. What difference is if it means his university and all these stakes are, on the line to go to the finals or not? What difference does that make? It's just a free throw. Easy. So my encouragement to you guys is, the next time you have a big opportunity, the next time it may be a challenging opportunity, maybe a discussion with one of your professors, it may be an opportunity for an interview, maybe an opportunity for promotion. Breathe the oxygen of belief when you're in that moment. Okay, fine and dandy. How many guys, girls, ladies set New Year's resolutions? Anybody? I'm going to study more. I'm going to get in better shape. I'm going to eat better. I'll be nicer to my partner. Did anybody? Let's do it one more time. I think I got 1, 2, 3. Okay. How many of you guys of you 3? And the other guys are all losers, by the way. The 3 that raised their hand, how many are still doing what they said they were going to do? Oh, there's 4 back there. Oh, you still are doing what you're doing. Oh, 2. Okay, so here's the deal. It's really cool to reverse engineer an NFL player's career and understand that you got to have belief, passion, purpose. You got to train hard. You got to have winning habits. You have to have a good lifestyle, and you have to be ready for game day. That's awesome. But here's what happens. The weather comes in, injuries come in, competition comes in, the draft comes, and they bring somebody in, draft somebody in the first round at your position. Your wife's having a baby in the middle of training camp. I mean, we go on and on and on. There's something always coming up. So let's just kind of go through this real quick. The kryptonite for my program, these are just examples. Hey, you believe 99.9%. That's not bad. That's a little doubt. Well, you know what? That little doubt is going to kill you, okay? Next one is just for passion is, I talked to one of my former clients. He's now director of college scouting for the Carolina Panthers, and a handful of years ago I was having a dinner with him at the Combine, and we were just talking about things. And I said, what are you looking for in interviews? When you sit down with those guys and you get 15 minutes to figure out who they are, what are you looking for? He said, I just want guys that don't have plan B. Because guess what? If you got a plan B, whatever your dream is, we all got them. If you got a plan B that's pretty good, you'll never accomplish plan A. Because you don't need to, because plan B is right there. It's knocking on the door like, hey, I'm over here, man. You don't need to try that hard. You don't need to work that hard. You don't need to dream that big. I'm right here. You can have me. So if an NFL player wants to be a doctor, he'll never be an NFL player. He doesn't need to be. So you have to have plan A be your plan A. And you can't have a plan B. Yes, you're going to need a plan B someday. But don't end your career so fast. So all of you guys, and me included, we've got plan Bs and we have distractions, okay? Next one is small stomach syndrome. I have a young man that I represented that came out of University of Illinois. He was a 4th rounder by the Buffalo Bills, and he's currently the director of player engagement for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And he is in charge as the player engagement guy to mentor the rookies and onboard them to being a pro. So most people in that job, this is what they do. Bring in the local cop. Say, hey man, if you get in trouble, you're out late, you get pulled over, you name drop this, you give them that card. That's your get out of jail free card. Other ones are like, hey, here's a financial guy. Don't blow all your money. If you think your guy's screwing you, call my guy. He'll help you save your money. This guy doesn't do that stuff. He talks about, where's your heart? What's it take to be a man? Are you developing as a man? Do you know what it takes to take on a 29-year-old with a wife, 4 kids, a mortgage, that doesn't want to lose his job to you? That's who you're competing against once you go to the NFL. So the small stomach syndrome is the guy that, it's Thanksgiving dinner, and there's turkey, ham, mashed potatoes, green beans, you name it. All these pumpkin pie, apple pie, cherry pie, there's all this stuff to eat. He takes a little bite of pumpkin pie and says, I'm good. That's all he eats. He's satisfied with a little bit of pumpkin pie. He doesn't even try the turkey. In the NFL, there are guys that have small stomach syndrome. They're satisfied by getting drafted. Hey, I'm drafted. Hey, for the rest of his life, he can say I was a 3rd rounder. Then he got 600, 700, 800 grand to sign. He's done. Coaches don't know it. Mom and dad doesn't know it. His future wife doesn't know it, but he's done. Because he's got a small stomach. He's already satisfied with getting drafted. The prospect of going to a job and having to earn a job and be an NFL player, I'm not in for that. I just wanted to do the things I needed to do to get drafted. I mean, he went to the tanning salon the week before he went to Indy, so he looked good. He stopped drinking booze. He stopped drinking soda for 2 months and had a 6-pack when he shows up in Indianapolis.
Session. We're wrapping up on that side. We're going to have closer remarks down here and go through the auction in a couple minutes. So if everyone can make their way down to the blue stage, and we will conclude this year's Illinois Sports Business Conference. Thank you very much.
Like he said. So I'm going to finish up. I'm going to do this in 5 minutes or less. Training is no willpower. At my age, I struggle with that because I used to be buff. I used to be in shape. Now I look at weights and go, oh, shit, do I really got to do this? I know what that's about, okay? But players, they're 22, 23, shouldn't be thinking like that, but they think like that too. It's like, hey, I look good. Hey, at least she says I look good, so why do I need to even work out? Okay? Habits. Guys always like to cheat the system. But what they don't realize is they're cheating themselves, okay? And then on game day, crunch time, a lot of guys have a tendency to look at the scoreboard. The scoreboard looks good, they start coasting. What happened to the Houston Texans in the AFC Championship game? Okay? They're winning 24-0. 24-0. How could you lose that game? You go into a different mode when you start looking at the scoreboard and going, we're up by 24, let's not mess it up. They're not keeping the foot to the pedal. What happened to the Atlanta Falcons a few years ago in the Super Bowl? Same thing, okay? So you have to, just like your New Year's resolutions, there's always going to be opposition and adversity to that. You also have to have adjustments when that adversity comes. So here they are. If you want to maintain your belief, you got to take confidence drugs. I didn't say drugs are bad. The right kind of drugs are good. You have to be a hungry dog. And a hungry dog. So let me ask. This is a test. We got. I'm not sure if we have 3 dogs or 4 dogs, but we got a big fat, bone. We've got a fast dog, a mean dog, and a hungry dog. Who's gonna get there first? Fast dog. Who's gonna take the bone from the fast dog? The mean dog. But who's gonna end up eating the dog? Or the bone? The hungry one. Every time. So in the NFL, The hungry dude always wins because he wants it more, okay? On habits, you got to prioritize what you want most over what you want now. I struggle with that, okay? I really do. Lifestyle, you got to eliminate FOMO, okay? You also have to just say yes to some things that you just need to say yes to and no to some things you need to say no to. And then on game day, you have to trust the process. Prepare, practice, see it, and breathe it. Okay, last thing. I'm going to tell this story as fast as I can. This is you heard about the $6 million man about 50 years ago. This is my 7 building block man. This is the dude that did all the right things. This is the young man that, in the face of adversity, believed in himself when he shouldn't have. This is the guy that worked hard when people thought he was wasting his time working hard. So he ends up playing 11 years, making a heck of a lot of money, multiple year captain, 2-time Super Bowl champion, played for 4 teams, two twice. And so there's him after the Super Bowl on the field, okay? But what people don't realize is he tore his ACL and was cut multiple times. He was told by Sean Payton, who's going to be in the Hall of Fame, that he didn't look like an NFL player, didn't have a body consistent with an NFL player, didn't look like one at all, so you might as well go get a real job. That's his exact words, go get a real job. He had Cam Cameron, who was one and done as a head coach in Miami, who's from U of I, or from IU, my bad, basically tell him, hey, you can't play. And then he also had Sean Payton 1 year, and a second tenure with the Saints, because he was with the Saints twice, called him into his office and said, hey, I want you to be a long snapper. He's a defensive end, outside linebacker. I want you to be a long snapper. Well, if you guys know anything about specialists in the NFL, they don't do anything except for 10 minutes of practice. So he's hanging out with the kicker and the punter and learning how to long snap. So when the defensive guys are doing indie drills, they're going to defensive meetings, he's not there because he's not a defensive player anymore. Shows up for training camp. He's a long snapper. They've just signed somebody off the streets 3 weeks before that, a player by the name of Jason Kyle that played for 10 years with the Panthers, who had done it very well. And what do you think Sean Payton said to Rob Ninkovich on the first day of training camp? Thank you for coming in. We've decided we need your spot. We already know who our long snapper is going to be. Good luck. So that was 6 months of his career, was not having a real job and practicing for something he really had never done before, and then being told when he shows up to actually execute the job, we don't need you anymore. Okay? So here's what Robbie did. He believed when no one else did. He had passion even through the tough times. He was cut 5 times. He trained harder than anybody else. He had a lifestyle. He had everything. And I'm going to sum it up with this. Remember, he now works for ESPN making low 5 figures every day. But when he went to ESPN the first time to do the car wash and was on 14 shows in 8 hours, I asked one of the ESPN guys, hey, I need a place to go. We want to go grab some beers and some food. He says, hey, man, there's this really nice pizza dive not too far away. So my wife and I and Robbie went to this pizza dive and sat in a booth. And I'm sitting there going, and this is like after year 7 or 8. This isn't 11. I'm like, Robbie, how did this happen? How could we be sitting here at ESPN and you being the star of the day? He said, never stop believing in myself. When all those people doubted me, it fueled me more. When he was living at home, any of you guys live at home? You live at home? I got one guy who lives at home. He went to college to live at home because he went to JUCO. No scholarship. And then he ends up coming to Purdue for 2 years and he didn't even start. But the point is that this guy should not have played in the NFL like he did. He should not have. That year I had like 10 or 11 guys eligible for the draft, and most of them got drafted. I ain't gonna lie. I wasn't believing either, because I'm looking at him like those other guys are looking at him like, Well, I hope he makes it. Maybe I'll play for a year or two. So my takeaway with you guys is, I don't care if you're in your 50s, I don't care if you're in your 20s, whatever your dream is, whatever your goal is, whatever you feel like what your passion is, you're the only one that's stopping you. You really are. And I can attest from representing NFL players for 30 years that the ones that didn't have the passion, didn't have all these 7 things, they didn't play. Maybe they played a minute, had a cup of coffee in the NFL is what everybody calls it. But the dudes that believed, that loved what they did, that were motivated, that worked their butts off, that had a lifestyle that was consistent, all those things are now financially set and have allowed the NFL to be a springboard to success after football too. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions? I got one question, then I'll let you go, because then it's late. One? One question. Or 0. I'm cool with 0.
So like, do you have any strategies when you're like evaluating a possible player to like uncover some of these?
Absolutely. So the question is, do I have a strategy for identifying if it's a 7 building block player or not? What you do is you find, like for example, if you were a prospect, I would talk to your coach, I would talk to your parents. If you have a girlfriend, I'm going to be talking to her. And she doesn't know that I'm interrogating her, but I'm asking her questions to find out about you. I want to know what you do in your downtime. I want to know, because here's what happens. The NFL has the handicap of only really seeing the football part of a player. They see what happens on the field. They got the tape. They talk to the coaches. Guess what? That's still in the stadium. Everything is in the stadium. The best way to do it is, what do you do during your, what would you do if you didn't have football? Some guys, they got a long list of things they're going to be doing. In fact, they'd rather do that. They'd rather go hunting, fishing, golfing, or something else, play video games, than play football anyway. But everybody's like, you got to play football. You're a big dude. You're fast. You look good. If I find out you just want to play football, you got football in the brain, then you're my kind of client, because you're gonna be successful. If I find out a guy's only doing it because of the money, it's not going to be long. Because you know what? I don't know how rich you all are, but let's say you're normal people. And I don't have it to give, but let's say I gave every one of you guys $1 million. You'd feel really good for a little while. Most of you guys wouldn't invest it. Most of you would spend it. This is what we do. But after that money runs out, you're like, you know what? In the NFL, the money is not the motivator. It's the fun. It's not the motivator. Good question. Thank you very much.